Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast, a place where we focus on the business side of art to help you attract more customers, increase profits, and ultimately live a life of creativity and financial freedom. I'm your host, Andrea Earhart, and this week's episode features Canadian wildlife artist Sarah McComb-Turbitt. Sarah is the perfect example of someone who takes things one step at a time and has a very methodical approach to building her art business. She learns a new skill by pouring her everything into it and then moves on to the next task, as opposed to getting overwhelmed with all the things that need to be done. She does it one step at a time at her own pace. This makes sense considering her background is in science. So she's a biologist turned artist. And I know you're going to love all of her stories. So let's just get to it and let me know what you think of this week's episode with Sarah McComb-Turbitt. Hey there, we're going live number 2 today with Sarah, and this is another Quit Your Day Job series where I talk to Artist Academy members about how they quit their day job and all the feelings behind it and strategies and where they're getting most of their commissions and all of the stuff. And so today we have Sarah, and I'm really excited because I am featuring Sarah, and so I feel like doing this interview is going to give some people somewhere to go who want to know more about her. Hi. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're just basically going to chat about, I have a bunch of questions here the ones that I sent you over, and we're just going to talk and just girl talk, and it'll be great.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you could start out by maybe introducing yourself a bit, and to anybody who doesn't know who you are, where are you, what kind of style do you do?
So my name's Sarah. I am a marine biologist turned wildlife artist, and I'm based in Ontario, and I paint a lot of marine life and wildlife, and I'm getting really into learning other animal textures like fur and elephant skin and that kind of stuff. So I'm slowly broadening my horizons to paint a variety of animals.
Yeah. So I remember your Artist Academy application because you had a very interesting background. And I was like, okay, so the scientist wants to join this Artist Academy to be an artist. I just thought that was so unique. Can you talk a little bit about your studies and your background a bit and how that's influenced your art now?
Yeah, so my background is in researching pilot whales, the longfin pilot whales on the northern tip of Nova Scotia, Canada. And then I did my master's research on the foraging ecology of gentoo penguins. So I did my master's out in UBC in Vancouver, Canada. And then I went down to do my fieldwork in the Falkland Islands, a subantarctic island, where I lived with the penguins for 3 weeks and then 6 weeks, tackled them to get blood samples. They're almost a meter tall. Like gentoo penguins are not small animals. I'm not particularly strong. So it was a lot of bravery that you had to like ramp yourself up to go and get in there with these animals. And it's so cold down there too. It's like hailing sideways, so windy, there's no trees. And yeah, my research looked into the question of why some individual animals outperform others. So how a penguin could be more successful than another penguin in terms of whether they breed that year or how much food they catch, things like this.
Interesting. Did you figure out if there was a difference or what made the difference?
Yeah, so I looked at their blood, like the amount of oxygen that they can carry in their blood. So it's hemoglobin and hematocrit and body mass that kind of give a maximum amount of like oxygen that you can store. And there's a lot of different relations to what their blood parameters were and the diving behavior we saw. So some penguins that have really high oxygen carrying capacity in their blood, they're the ones that do dives to like 200 meters down, whereas other penguins that aren't as good at holding their breath, they're only diving to like 70 meters. And there's different prey that they're able to eat at these different like locations underwater. So it's really interesting being able to relate it back to whether or not they were participating in the breeding season and what the actual like outcome is for their like evolutionary fitness of passing on their genes based on their diving behavior and their blood information. So it's kind of like their physiological health. Yeah. And I'm currently writing it up I finished my master's almost a year and a half ago, basically. And I've just started going back to getting that paper published as well. I resisted it for a long time, but I'm putting the hours in and we're going to get another paper out of it. So multitasking.
Oh my gosh. All
Yeah.
that and in painting and doing all the things. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I could literally listen to you tell stories all day about that kind of a thing. I think it's just so interesting, and you tell a story well. Like you get to the point, and it's just you're a very good storyteller in general.
Well, it was funny because the first time I joined the Artist Academy a year ago, we hopped on and we did a live. It was like my first live ever on Instagram. I think I may have done 5, maybe. I should do it more. And we talked about penguins and catching the blood samples and getting fleas from them and all of the details, like the nitty-gritty stuff of the fieldwork aspects. And yeah, it's pretty amusing to think of because nobody actually thinks of what it's like you see marine biologists on TV, but then when you're actually there or can like talk to one who's done that work, it's kind of funny. And then most of what I do is R and Python coding. Like I'm mostly a programmer. It's just fancier to say you work with penguins. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you get bit by a penguin?
Yeah, but their wings are what you need to look out for because they dive so fast. They can go down to 200 meters, 600 feet for the Americans in the audience.
You Canadians. I don't know.
Yeah. And they go down to that deep and back in like 5 minutes. They're so fast. So like their flippers are what you need to watch out for. Like they could break your hand, like for sure. Like they hurt. Like it's like getting slapped with a ruler, but there's so much muscle behind that ruler. Like, yeah, their beaks pinch, but they can't really draw blood that much. You know, they're not like a raptor. So it's, yeah.
Thank gosh.
But anyway, we have all the animal care permits. We were very nice to the penguins. We follow very strict protocol rules, all the required things, I should say. Yes.
Yeah. I'm not just out there tackling all of them.
Yes. Please get professional training if you want to work with penguins. Yep.
Okay. And now you're painting a bunch of penguins, and you painted live for the Artists for Conservation, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's actually so funny because getting accepted as a member for Artists for Conservation, it's this amazing group where they paint wildlife and donate part of their funds to conservation causes for the animals. And that was like a main calling. When I first discovered them, it was like such a deep soul resonating thing to find out that this group was. And it was at a conference in Vancouver, and I was there as a researcher. And they had this mural where they had painted like hundreds of species of like the most endangered birds. And it blew my mind that so many artists internationally could collaborate on a project like this. And I loved it. So I applied for 2 years, finally got accepted as a member in 2019. And then was like, that's it. When I finish my master's, I'm just going to paint really hyper detailed wildlife art full time, and it'll be great. And in following along with that, my husband and I decided to move back to our small town in Ontario because the cost of living is so much cheaper and more affordable. And the loss of my income made up the difference. So we kind of had like a buffer year. 2021 was a buffer year of, a lot of people ask like, when do you quit your day job? For me, it wasn't about quitting a job. It was about how long can I last without needing another job, was kind of where we were set up. So it was kind of like a different spin on it. I feel like people get in these two boats. Either they're forced out of a job and or they left a job that they were really unhappy with and they didn't really have a good plan, which is the category I fell into. I didn't know anything about being an artist. And other people who take the long route where they work and save up a lot and then quit all at once, or they go part-time and then transition slowly. This was kind of like an all or nothing, sink or swim situation. And the main requirement was that I couldn't, after the first few months, it couldn't cost us money. So we had a little bit of startup fee to buy paints and canvases and stuff. And then it was basically a try and survive, throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks situation. And yeah, so the Artists for Conservation is so funny because I committed to painting full time, but we were renovating a house and other stuff. So I didn't actually start doing it until last October. So just over a year ago now. And I spent like over 200 hours on this first seal. And I love this painting. It's gorgeous. And I marked it sold on my website because I just can't part with it anymore. I don't care. It's mine. So, and I wanted to sell it for so long to be like ranked with those high wildlife artists. And I kept it for the competition and I was going to submit it to the Artists for Conservation competition. But it was my husband who was like, nobody knows who you are. You're not advertising yourself anywhere. Nobody's going to buy this from you. And that was such like a wake up call of like, you're right, I don't know anything. So I started playing around at that point with what I could do online. And I found a few different artist groups. I found your group, signed up for the 7-day free trial just to see what the resources were. And I did your whole print course in like the first day. I just like was going like, I'm just going to learn everything before this free trial ends because I have no money to spend on something like this. And it was so funny because I went in for the online courses and there's so much material there. There's no way you could get through it all in 7 days anyway. Like it's a wealth of resources, all the videos in the Artist Academy Advanced. But the reason that I got hooked was the community. It was the Facebook group and everybody being so welcoming and you being so welcoming. And I remember thinking like, I have no idea what half of the stuff these people are talking about is going on. Like I had no idea when people are posting problems that they're having in their business. I'm like, that seems so foreign to where I was at. But yeah, and then the 31-day challenge happened and the rest is history. Like that challenge, participating in it hooked me and I will be a life member because it's the community, but it's also the support structure of people driving each other. That was a very long answer, but
I loved every bit of it. You're such a good talker. I love it. Just keep talking. Yeah, I'm so glad that you're a life member. Yeah, I just love it because when people come in, there's some people who come in and they'll watch a couple of videos and life gets busy like it does for all of us. And so they kind of, but you came in and you were like, okay, I'm going to do this challenge. All right. Even though it was so different from what you had just done, like spending 200 hours on one thing and then spending a day on 31 paintings, that was a drastic difference. And I just remember talking to you and being like, you should try it. And you're like, I don't know. Okay. Yeah. I'm like, okay. So, and then you did it. And it was just so fun to follow along with your series last year with the whales. It was so fun to watch like what you were going to do and then all the stories behind it. And I love your fun facts too. You can never do enough fun facts about whales or penguins or anything like that. But it's just been so fun to watch you grow and try all the things. Like you just did an art challenge or an art auction and just all of the stuff. You just tried it all.
Yeah, well, with the 31-day challenge, I was like, what do I have in my background that's different? And I am a master of knowledge of marine animals, So I'm like, I'm going to provide facts to people because it's knowledge. There you go. But yeah, basically last year, I pretty much picked a new thing each month, not on purpose necessarily, but it was kind of like, okay, so January I painted a ton. February, I was like, okay, we'll get a website going on, but I need better quality images. So then, March, it was kind of like, okay, so learn how to photograph your artwork and color correct it and get rid of glare and do the whole print thing to add to my website. And then April was my Skillshare class. So it kind of just became like a new main theme each month kind of. And it was really good because 5 of my January paintings sold. So that created the buffer that allowed me to last the next few months. So from selling 5 of those paintings, it was kind of like, wow, this is the pool of money now I have to like buy canvases and paint. And it was kind of nice to have that kind of control over it. And then this past month, I did an art auction for the first time and sold the vast majority of my 31-day paintings. I had a limit. I think I could only post 20 on the free website I was using. So then that was that new thing. But the 31-day challenge, if anybody's on the fence about it, go for it. Because I am such a perfectionist in my research, in my writing, in my coding, and in painting. So it was just such a wake-up call to be like, you don't need a really detailed amount of like painting and tiny brushstrokes to create a good painting. It's kind of like that 20% of the effort gets you 80% of the results rule. Like you can just go and go for it. And you don't need the extra 80% of the effort to get to perfect. Like it takes the minimum. You just gotta like show up and go for it. But it was funny about this challenge because the first like 3 days was what made me realize that I was going to stay a member of the Artist Academy too. It was because I had my book of marine mammals and I was going to a random page and picking a whale species at random and just painting that species. And the third day was beluga whales. There was a mom and a calf beluga whale. And I totally bit off more than I could chew. I had icebergs at the top that I spent like 4 hours trying to get these icebergs to look good before I even painted the animals. It's like, this is such a disaster. I got sidetracked and I didn't have a good like flow and system for it. And 8 hours into this painting, the whale still looked like crap. And I posted a picture of it in the advanced group, just being like, guys, I'm so screwed. Like, this isn't working out. Like, I'm not going to finish the one today. I don't know what to do. It wasn't just like the comments that people said in that thread of like support and keep going. Can get like emotional just like talking about this. But so many people jumped into my Instagram story when I was giving updates and they were commenting back every time I did like an update on my Instagram until like painting till like 11:30 at night, like over like 14 hours for one painting. But people I had known for like 3 weeks were commenting on my stuff live, like with so much support and understanding. And it's just so invaluable to find a group of peers, of people who just so genuinely care about each other and want to lift everybody up. Yeah, it was an emotional time, very deep revelations, and like just the camaraderie of that was crazy. Not to mention the Artist for Conservation group that I joined, the super prestigious group of like really high class artists, world renowned. There's 500 members from like 60 countries, something like that. And I submitted my first seal, the painting I had spent hours and hours on. And the biggest irony ever. Yeah. So in June, I had thrown in 3 of my other paintings that I had done. And one of them was this whale skeleton that I had painted from the 31-day challenge. And that one not even got top 200 for the art book, but it got the top 70 paintings that have gone on international tour this past year. One of my paintings I did in a day from joining this challenge went on tour. There's like it's the next stop in January, I think, is like the Arizona Desert Museum. If you're in Arizona, go check it out. It's the 3rd week of January and it's going to be there for like a month. But it's just so nuts that like I would have never thought that would have happened.
Yeah, it's so crazy how just things you kind of like put it out there that you want something and then you make steps towards it, and then sometimes it just happens in the weirdest ways. You get jobs from what seems like nowhere, and there's just the art world is such an odd place. But it's fun though, like things that happen, you're like, that didn't go as I thought it was, but this is cool too.
Yeah, there's still lessons in there that every time I think about it, I'm like relearning. Like if I spend longer than like 40 hours on a painting now, it's kind of like, do I need to? There's a lot of stuff that questions, or even just choosing like the source material for a painting. Like I still don't understand. It boggles my mind. I prefer the first seal personally, but it's not the one that went into the juried competition. So whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was because it was just so different. And it had like a purple background, so it was like eye catching, and it was of a skeleton. And I think it was just because it was so different, and it's like you almost took a chance, and you stood out by being so different. And I think in that specific thing where people paint realistic animals, I actually don't know what everybody else submitted, but I imagine I might be stereotyping that they were like realistic animals. And so you painted something different from that, and that's probably what stood out. Is that what you were thinking? Or
there's all types. There's silk art in there.
Oh, okay.
It's they submit all mediums in this. There's abstract stuff in there. It's a wide range, but it's true. Like skeletons are unique, and the way that it's kind of swimming in a purple starry ocean, it definitely has like a feeling when you look at it. And it's kind of funny because you just get into this like pressure cooker of needing to come up with ideas, and it's what makes it, you have to think of something each day. You just do it until you stick. Like if you paint enough things, one of them is going to be a really good idea, and you don't always know until it's out there. So
yeah, so true. I think that's the magic of the 31-day challenge. It just makes you just stretch your brain to try to figure out something else. And then, okay, because like, I feel like on day one, it's like our favorite thing, but our favorite thing sometimes is like the most unoriginal sometimes, and so just like having to stretch that, it just gets a little weirder and weirder as we go. I really like the idea that you had just said about how you took it one step at a time, and you really analyzed, and you made it like your own scientific experiment, like per month. You're like, okay, I have
probably
you basically
the most logical way possible to start something.
You're like, yeah, well, I imagine it being like something's out on an operating table or something, and you're like, let me pick this apart and put it back together, and then like a surgeon or something, and so you figured out like how to do the website, and then how to do the prints, and and I love that it's one step at a time too, because a lot of artists, like, there's a lot to learn. There's just so much, and like even I'm like constantly learning something new, and there's just so much to know, and it can be really overwhelming. So hopefully with people listening to this, they kind of see that you don't have to do it all at once. Maybe like you took a whole month to do one thing, and that's okay, because now you have that knowledge forever, and you're set up, and like you have the website going. You don't need to go back and spend a whole nother month on it next year. It's just you learn as you go. So I think that's such a really great way to learn and build your art business.
Yeah. And like the first time it took me to photograph and color correct my art, like you can see all my lights are still set up here with like the polarizing filters on them and stuff. It took like hours to learn Lightroom and to get the whole system down. But now I can photograph a painting, especially if they're all kind of set up like this, and I can upload it on my website within half an hour. So it's great because you build that efficiency slowly over time. But it is interesting, like learning one step at a time, because it was in the summer. Yeah, kind of like late spring, summer. I had been negative in my art finances for like 3 months, going on 4 months in June. And I had resisted the murals for so long. And then it was kind of like, I think my husband came up to me. He's just like, you don't really have to make money right now, but you can't really cost us money. Like, it was like that kind of like, and I was like, I know, like, because it's so hard, because people were so encouraging and like supportive, and in like my real life and on Instagram and the community too. But, and everybody's just like, I love what you're doing, but it's kind of like, this is great, but like it's not that we paint to make money, but we make money so we can keep painting, So it was kind of like, and I almost took a DFO contract, Department of Fisheries and Oceans. That would have been the science job thing. It was only like a 3-month contract, but I was like, like we've been living really on a very tight budget, and it just gets old after a while. So yeah, but anyway, and then I finally was like, okay, fine, I will buy house paint. I'll do it. So I spent like maybe $400 on buckets of white, yellow, red, blue, like the base colors. And I did 3 bedroom kid murals for free / by donation, basically. And then from that, I got a like $200 small animal mural for a local business. And then I got a $2,000 wall for a business. And then I just booked in November a almost $8,000 mural that's going to start in April. So yeah, you do some stuff for free, but it actually happens like really quickly. And I remember quoting it and being like, I told them $30 an hour for the level of detail they were asking. And they were like, okay, that sounds good. And we had given them options, like I said, between 20 and 40, and they chose $30 per square foot. Sorry, not per hour. And it was just, I remember like talking on a weekly live with you as well, because I was like, they haven't gotten back to me. I've emailed them twice. I don't know. How often do you follow up? And it's the real value in a group like this is like, these are situations that I had no experience in. I would have quoted them way less, potentially. I would have maybe, I don't know, like went back and being like, actually, here's $1,000 off. Just book me, please. Like you kind of cave at a certain point, but then it's different when you get your first big wins, because after that was booked, and I also had a canvas commission come in for like almost $5,000 for a canvas. So it's just like you get your first few big jobs, and then it's like from those, it buys you time. So now I know, because I have this big commission I'm finishing in February, and then I have this huge mural coming in May. That's my mortgage for the next probably 12 months. We could stretch that out. So then that's nice, because then it's like from that, you're good. And then everything else you do is just bonus. So it's nice to get to this level of like, whew, you could kind of like breathe again a bit. But yeah, I don't know. I resisted murals, and they got me eventually. And they're really fun to paint. So
they're just so dang profitable. It's hard to tear away. Like they're kind of exhausting. Like I just did a whole room in a couple days, and my arm at the end of it, I was like, man, this is going to be a tough thing to do when I'm old, but they're just so dang profitable that it's just, and yeah, you're right. Like I started in the past year. So yeah, I'm really, the past year, but really the past couple months, like taking Fridays as my studio day to do exactly what you're doing, like paint what you want to paint. And yeah, because murals can do that. Like murals are like, okay, you get one that lasts maybe 1 or 2 days for the week. And it's like, that's your rent for a few weeks or however long. But I love that you've caved into the mural. Like finally, like fine, I'll do it.
I know, it was so not part of my like artist identity. I was like, nope, I'm going to paint canvases that'll sell for thousands of dollars. And then it's so funny, because it was like such a desperate few months of like, shoot, gotta try something else. But it's great, because it wasn't like, if I didn't have the Artist Academy, I probably would have taken another job to bridge that gap instead of just pivoting to something else that you're still painting. It just wasn't what you thought you were gonna do to make money. I mean, I'm stoked about this mural. Like it's gonna be like a life-size black bear, and like a whole bunch of other stuff is gonna be hidden in it. It's gonna be super fun. So yeah, there's going to be lots.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Well, really, I mean, you can do big, expensive canvases, and you can do big, expensive murals. You know, it's just painting big is always fun. And yeah, whenever you're talking about murals, I'm like, but you could be like the female Wyland, you know, and just do like wildlife or like underwater stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you seem pretty chill. Like you seem pretty like chill as you went through this. Were there any like fears that were going through your head? And I ask this because it is typically for a lot of people a really stressful time, like quitting their day job and getting it going. And either they're working a lot while they're at their day job, or they've just quit. And it's like, oh my gosh, like there's somewhere in there. It can be kind of a lot of anxiety can come up, but you seem pretty chill. Were you pretty chill about it, or were there any things that you were wondering? You're like,
I feel like people said this when I started going on my story as well. They were like, wow, you're so bubbly and excited. It's nervousness. It's not, I'm not this energetic. It's
you're
like,
so cute on your stories. I like, anytime I watch your stories, I'm like just giggling. I'm like, because it reminds me a lot of myself. How like I'll be like, da da da. Okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah, I talk in like 3 octaves higher than my normal voice. Whatever. But it seems chill now, but I was really nervous about like what the professional community of like science would necessarily think. And especially when I started to post on like LinkedIn, all my LinkedIn network is all like 4,000 other scientists and researchers in marine biology. So it was kind of like weird where I'm not like, hey, this is my new paper I published. Instead, I'm like, look at this painting of a whale. It's great. Like, I don't know. I felt strange about not necessarily like the self-promotion part of it, but just like trying to get eyeballs on what I was doing. Cause I knew like that's the only way you can make money. People have to know what you're doing. And everything was closed from COVID. It's not like I could go to a local art show. It was really just like trying to harness the power of the internet. And most of my sales were from LinkedIn and still are to some huge extent. Like I don't know if I can trace a sale back to Instagram. It's either through LinkedIn or through like referrals, like people saying like, I have a friend, look at her artwork. And then they would contact me or go to my website or something like that. So it's kind of funny, but it like since basically like end of October, November, that's when the commission started coming in. And like I just got somebody left an inquiry on my website for a pet portrait for $1,000. And I have said, no, I will not paint a dog. I will not paint a cat. There's too many. I don't want to. I don't want to get trapped there. But for $1,000, I was like, well, I mean, that's worth a conversation there. And then when I talked to them on the phone, they were like, I don't know how it works with your pricing. And I basically just explained to them like what you're buying with a budget on a painting, like a commission, is time. So if you want to invest more in it, I will spend more time doing more details. And I have the first skill that I spent forever on to back that up now. So people, anyway, they basically ended the phone call, ended up upselling it to 1,800. So now it's like, because they were like, yeah, go nuts. Like make it really detailed, the fur of their dog. And their dog's so cute too. And they have such a good story. So anyway, that's going to be, I'm going to start it in December and then probably pause it for the 31-day challenge. And then I'll finish it probably like at the beginning of February. But yeah, like inquiries like that come in now. And it's crazy because I feel like I have so much control over it and how many I accept and when I accept them. So it's like, my goal is to just make a backlog of commissions, but then like keep the deadlines very vague, you know, so then if I don't feel like working on it, but then if I need money, I can like pick one up, you know, that's the goal now. So.
Oh my gosh, you're a full-time artist now.
Wow, it's happening.
Oh my gosh, that's so great. I really liked how you mentioned, okay, so first off, a couple things on here. I like how you explain that to customers, how like, okay, well, what you're buying is time, because, and just having those examples to show them, I think are so valuable, because then people can see, because a lot of people are like, why are you charging $500 for this art? Like, well, who says it's worth that? And it's like, it just explaining it that way, I think is such a good point that you're doing. And another point that you said earlier, how you were afraid of like starting, it's like basically starting over or being seen as this, you know, this, because really being a researcher and being a scientist is people look up to that and they're like, whoa, like that's like, it gets a reaction out of people. It's kind of like saying you're a doctor. People are like, oh, wow. And so you go that to be an artist. And the first reaction even when I meet people, I'm like, hi, I'm an artist. They're like, you got like a real job? Like, or do you like craft on the weekend? And like, I have to like explain like, no, I do. Or like show them a photo and they're like, oh, you're like an actual artist. But nobody says that about a doctor or a scientist or a researcher.
You know what? I feel like marine biology has a special asterisk above it.
Oh, really?
Because the default response I've gotten for years is, oh, my 7-year-old would love your job. Like it's not that different from being an artist. Like I feel like I've got a training in how to like not defend your profession, and that was another huge fear when I was starting to art. So many people, like especially in my small town Ontario area, were like, oh, so you couldn't get a job as a marine biologist then?
Oh.
It's like, no, I absolutely can get a job as a marine biologist. I've been offered jobs in 4 different countries. I just want to live here because my brother had a baby and I want to be an aunt. So there's all this kind of, people think it's a joke too. Like my husband used to go to like work events and networking events with him. And I'd write marine biologist on my name tag and people would be like, oh, that's so funny. Like the joke from Seinfeld. What do you actually do? And I'm like, what? Because I hadn't watched Seinfeld that much, but I'm like, no, this is my profession. What are you talking about? Like, yeah.
Oh my God.
So I mean, marine biologists, when a kid says they want to be a marine biologist, it's like wanting to be an astronaut, or like it's treated as a joke kind of, which is kind of really funny. So the skills to get there are the same. But if somebody is like studying bacteria in a petri dish as a biologist, that seems more like legit and serious for an adult than like, how exactly do you catch a penguin? Like, tell me. So it's kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Or like, do people ever ask if you work at a zoo or something, right? Or
Yeah, sometimes. And like
okay.
a lot of, yeah, scientists do work at a zoo. Like
Okay.
I went to a zoo to learn how to initially take blood samples. Like it's a great learning resource for stuff. So
You're like, take
yeah.
me seriously though.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I'm on the fence right now. Maybe I'll ask your advice. This is what we'll do.
Yeah.
I I think I think I'm going to start a YouTube channel because it's another way to share and show your work. And I have an idea of taking time lapses of my paintings and then me just talking over them in like a corner, kind of like reacting to my own painting. And I think I'm going to keep like the raw cut of the time lapse so people can see like, oh, and now I'm eating chocolate, like, that kind of details of it, like how much you have a break and this kind of stuff. And like how many days it takes, because you'll see your outfit change. And I think I'm going to do something like that. My main debate is because I know nothing. Well, I did my Skillshare class in iMovie, but I think I'm going to do the 90-day free trial of Final Cut Pro. I'm debating trying to learn as much as I can about video editing between Christmas and New Year's, and then trying to record an introduction to the video, get the time lapse for my 31-day painting, record an outro at the evening, edit it all, and post it the next morning during the challenge. So kind of using like the 31-day challenge, not just for painting, but for learning video editing on YouTube. But I'm not sure if that's taken off too much that I could chew or not. Undecided.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually it's so funny that you say that because I had that idea to do, it's like it's called a picture in picture thing. Right. And so you have the small square, but not for YouTube, but I wanted to start doing that for Instagram Reels and like reacting to my own, be like, yeah, this is where this is where it started to look good, but and I thought about doing that for like little mini videos. And also tonight, actually, I'm going over to my friend's house, and he's a like professional videographer, editor, shooter, director, and he's worked on like a bunch of famous Hollywood stuff. And so I'm going over there, and he's going to show me his recommendation for editing software. And he said that it's free. It's called DaVinci, I think. I don't know. I'll let you know. But he has the paid version, but he was like, you need the light version, which is free. And he said that it has more than anything that we could need or use. Cause I have to edit a video tonight for a brand thing. And so I'm going over to have him like help me and get it a little bit better than what I could do. So I will let you know what that editor is. And I'll let you know like my review of working on it tonight. It's like, oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Somebody commented, yes, DaVinci. I was going to recommend that. Kelly commented that. So I think that's what it's called. So yeah. And as for YouTube, I just don't know much about it, but I love the whole idea of video. And if you don't also for YouTube, like you could take like little bitty bits of it and post those to TikTok and post those to Reels, just making a long video and chopping it up and using it, even like posting like 5 different Reels out of that one YouTube. I'm just such a fan of video, and I just know that it takes so long to grow on YouTube, but it's possible.
Yeah. I think the reason I wanted to start it and then use the 31-day challenge to get momentum is because like last year, I got so many followers from this challenge of people sharing it. And it wasn't like any of my posts. I don't even think I did that many reels during it because I just didn't have time at that point. I was drowning, but nothing went viral. Everything was still like, within the 100 and 200 like range, but I still gained like over 100 and 200 maybe followers within that 1 month still. So I think the goal is that if I use Instagram with LinkedIn, with YouTube, kind of like all 3 together, that we could get a lot of like crossover of people who are like, wow, that painting's crazy. Then they go over to YouTube and see the full time lapse of me talking about what I was thinking and choosing the animal and painting different parts of it. I don't know. I think it could be like a good like learning experience for other artists, and also just entertaining if somebody was interested in buying that painting to see like how it happened. Yeah. But I don't know. The other thing is that if I didn't post them all within the month, then I would have like 31 weeks of weekly content done. So it'd be like such a batch filming to go and then post later. So those are the kind of two ideas I'm playing with. I'm not sure if it's going to be too much because we've got big things planned for this challenge. They're all the canvases are over in the corner, all drying on various cans of soup and other
I saw that on your story.
things. Yeah, my story. All my random objects that sit flat and are at least 4 inches tall that I can balance canvases on so that the edges dry and aren't sticking to my floor is perfect. Yep.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was like, yeah, I saw you had like hot chocolate and like all this stuff
Yeah.
you're balancing it on. I love that. Yeah, I love that idea. And I didn't even think about that, how you could show your customer too. Like, this is the video behind your painting. Like, you know that they're going to want to show that to other people too. Like, because imagine like if I bought a painting, be like, look, and this is the artist and this is her talking about creating it. And like, that's just a whole nother, ooh, I like that. Ooh.
Yeah, it just adds like a layer of value on it. And people want to see your work, like your actual doing it. And I don't know, you can like even embed them in your website below the painting on it. So yeah, I don't know. But I'm playing with if it's going to be too much work or not. Like if I can do a test run and get my like all my editing of a video under 2 hours, it'll only get faster from there. But yeah, I don't know. It's still so much work to choose the animal and get the reference image. And I don't know yet. I'm on the fence, but yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely batch record now and then edit later. I think that would be, I mean, if you find like you have time and you want to throw out a video, sure. But I love the idea of batch recording and then editing way later on when you have a little bit more time.
Yeah. Maybe if like you finish a painting in 6 hours, then like edit that one and release it the next day. So it'd be like sporadic, so you could get some of the both benefits. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, I love that you're trying stuff. I just cannot wait to see where you're at in like 5 years, and like, that seems like a far away thing, but I think it's going to be a really awesome place. And because you're already doing so well and you lead with quality, which I love. And like, your paintings are quality, your approach is quality. And you spent a while getting your website out and it's just high quality. And there's something to be said for that. And it's just so cool to watch you. It's so crazy to me though, because you seem to have painting pretty much down, which is typically what a lot of artists need to work on. And I think it's because of your quality mindset of like, okay, I'm just going to work at this painting until it looks really, really good. And so you have the knowledge. Did you take some painting classes beforehand or?
No, not really. But like, don't hate me
awesome.
for this comment, but like, I took art classes in high school. And then it was always like my stress relieving activity when I was in my undergrad. During my masters are crazy. So I didn't have that much time to paint in my master's degree. But I don't know, I had done paintings and people had like been like, wow, do you sell your art? And I'm like, no, why would I sell it? Like, it's mine. I was like, I spent hours on this. You think I'm just going to give it to somebody? That's crazy. That was kind of like the mindset I did have. So it was, and I still struggle with that. Hence why my first seal, crown and jewel, is decorating my house. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's like it's just a crazy attention to detail that is the reason that I can code in Python and R and have it work out and like write scientific papers and do the whole scientific method. Like, it's just, you have to pay attention to the little things, and the patience for that has always been something that never felt hard. Like, it feels so much more fulfilling when you put a lot of effort into something. But yeah, I need the 31-day challenge to remind myself of what I can achieve painting and what shortcuts you can take, and it looks the same or very similar because they don't matter as much. So it's nice to, I would have never have thought I would have produced all those paintings to that level of detail before doing the challenge. I would have thought you were crazy. And I had small canvases picked out as like backup options. Like, I'll do the easy route. If I get behind some days, I'll paint something quick and then I can take like a Saturday off. It didn't become that at all. It became like a challenge with myself and with everybody online holding me accountable to be like, shit, I produced that one yesterday. I mean, like, I can't make this one worse today. Like, it became like the it spiraled out of control. So
I'm excited to see what you're doing this year too. Like
Yay.
I was about to say, like, careful what you do on day one, because then you can't go back. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I think I might start day one's painting on the 31st
me too.
or like the 30th,
Yeah.
just because there's this local art contest for the Chinese New Year. So this year's the year of the tiger. Last year was the year of the ox, and I had a painting in it. So this one I was going to do it. My first painting is this tiger profile, and it looks super cool. But because it's going to be like in a local gallery, I kind of want to put a little bit more effort into it. But yeah, my day one is not going to be the standard I hold day two to for sure, because I think it's going to be like a 2-3 day painting that I just finish on the first. But yeah, it is. It's hard because you feel the need to one up yourself. So
yeah. Yeah, that's so funny though, because I'm going to start on the 30th or 31st and maybe finish it, because I know that I'm going out for New Year's, and on the first I'm not going to feel like painting. So I'm going to be like, I painted this yesterday. Here you go. Like that's my plan.
I saved the stories for my last 31-day challenge, and I was rewatching them. And I think literally in it, I was like, it's almost noon, but that's fine because wine exists is like the opening tag of like my first story of like getting to my studio, and it's like lunchtime. Oh, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I am the worst at that too. Like I'll be like, I'll make a breakfast this morning. Oh, I need to do this for my emails, and then it's like 2 or 3 o'clock sometimes, and I'm like, whoops. Okay. Well, I'll paint till 10. Whatever, I'm an artist, I can do that. We could do that. That's the fun of it.
Yeah. And I almost prefer taking like relaxing mornings and then
Me too.
working more in the evenings, because it doesn't feel like work once you get going. So
yeah, because you don't have to like be there at a certain time. You're not like feel like you're running late or something.
Yeah. It's just whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for chatting about all of this. I've loved to talk with you. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I'm sure you've definitely inspired. So I interviewed Austin today earlier, and your stories are very different. Like you have like a very much more like straight on approach, and you do one thing at a time. Austin is like, I'm going to try this and that and all within the same week. And just like, so I love that they're so different, really. Like you guys have all different paths, and you're both doing so well, and it's just so much fun. And thank you for joining the Artist Academy, because I love attracting people like you in, and having you in, and give advice to everybody else, and really to be an example for everybody else too. And because I know that a lot of people look at you and they see what you're doing, and they watch your stories, and they're like, man, she's so good at painting, and she's showing up every day, and so people are looking at you too. And I think it's just so great that you're such a good example for them, and Austin too, I guess.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it's kind of crazy because, like, to talk about the numbers, I just hit like a few weeks ago making over 20K in the whole year, but that's like total income. I had a lot of expenses because like I buy like canvases and stuff, like all the 31-day challenge paintings are like $20 each. Like they're good quality, like Baltic birch wood. And like my paint, because it's transparent acrylic paint, that's a whole other topic, but it's really expensive too. So I have a lot of costs in my paintings. So I think I've almost only made like $6,000 so far out of this. But most of that, like November alone, I made almost $7,000 in the month of November total from all sales, which was mind blowing to get a month like that. And like the Christmas rush is part of it, but I don't know. And I have almost like $14,000 of work already booked. Like that's guaranteed money coming in the next 5 months. So it's kind of crazy how quickly it can go from you feel lost and like, how could you get a sale, to all of a sudden they start coming in very naturally, and it almost feels like easy. Like it's funny. It just flips. Like
it does. Yeah. There's this weird like tipping point, and you're like, when did this happen? But it's a culmination of all the work you've done for the last year or two. And now like people are noticing, and people are telling, and then this person tells this person that tells this person, and your LinkedIn, just everything, like all of those steps and all of those months that you took to learn something new, it's all just coming together now. And you're totally right. So thank you for pointing that out. And yeah. That's so awesome.
Long game effort. Yeah.
Long game. Yeah. It's all about the long game. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you again so much for coming on. And I can't wait to see what you do this January for the January challenge.
Me too.
Me too. All right. I'll catch you later. Thanks again.
Okay. Bye.
Alrighty, that is it. Thanks for listening to another show all about how to quit your day job here on the Artist Academy podcast. Now, if you are inspired and you're like, all right, I'm raising my hand, maybe I need a little bit of help with my mural career or art career, selling things, finding customers, all the things, I would love to help you out. So just go to artistacademy.co. That's artistacademy.co, and you'll see a bunch of stuff. You'll see a mural training. You'll see a way to apply and join us for the 4th quarter success plan. We have what you need to get you started in the art career, because really once you get started, then the rest is a lot easier. It's just finding that starting point is really tough sometimes. But yeah, and also if you liked this episode and you want to review the podcast, I would say thank you so much, because I am offering a shout out on my Instagram for a podcast review. So if you review this podcast or if you share it on Instagram or anything, just tag me and I will shout you out on my Instagram of over 70,000 people, followers, And so that's just basically just a thank you for helping me and I'll help you kind of a thing. Okay. All right. I hope you have a great rest of your week and I will see you next time.